exposed the incredible journey of a mother revealed after being left off her son's wedding list. In a small Midwestern town where gossip travels faster than light, Sarah Carter found herself shattered. She had spent nearly 2 decades working as a waitress, devoted every waking hour to her son Jake, giving him everything. But on the cusp of his wedding, she was not there. Left off the guest list, the hurt cut deep. How had it come to this? Each night, Sarah served coffee with a smile that masked her fatigue. She navigated through tables laden with laughter and conversations, a warm beacon of hope for the regulars seeking comfort in her presence. But as she cleaned off tables, her heart twisted. The townsfolk buzzed about Jake's engagement to a girl from the well-to-do Thompson family. Sarah, however, felt invisible. The pain drummed in her chest like a frantic heartbeat as she stood outside the wedding venue, a grand hall adorned with twinkling lights and lavish decorations. "What kind of future does he envision?" she whispered to the night, memories of their early years flooding back. Jake, with his small hands clutching a picture book, always by her side. How had her boy strayed so far? Neighbors had noticed her heartbreak too. They rallied around her, sharing stories of her unwavering love. "Remember when she stayed late to help after the storm?" Mrs. Porter reminded the group over a potluck. She deserves to be there for her son. Community voices united in frustration, urging Sarah to reach out to Jake. Yet the thought of confrontation left her frozen. Still, old photographs gripped her like a lifeline. She sifted through captured moments, school plays, Sunday picnics, and late-night study sessions over cheap takeout. Tears pricked at her eyes. Have I given up my identity for this? The weight of realization crashed over her. All her sacrifices had shaped Jake, but had he forgotten the essence of family? As the wedding day approached, Sarah battled herself. Should she confront him or silently step aside, allowing him to embrace this new life? Anger and love tangled within her as she considered what mattered more. But by the evening of the wedding, uncertainty turned into resolve. Her heart raced. This was her son. She had to be a part of this moment, regardless of the pain. She slipped into the venue as if stepping into a dream, the chaos of joy surrounding her. Eyes darted, silence fell. The guests were wide-eyed with disbelief. Sarah stood at the entrance, her heart pounding. She didn't plan on this, an unexpected storm at what should have been a shining moment in Jake's life. "Jake," she called, her voice breaking through the murmurs, time slowing as he turned. This was it, a confrontation written in the stars, where questions of acceptance hung heavy in the air. Would he remember her? Recognize the love woven into every sacrifice? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As Jake stood there, eyes wide and expression unreadable, Sarah's heart sank. The silence stretched out, a chasm of unspoken words between them. She took a step closer, feeling the years fold into this one moment, whispers of doubt swirling in the air. Would this be the moment that tore them apart or brought them back together? As vulnerability hung between them, her fate entwined with his, the question lingering in the balance, how would their story unfold? Jake's expression shifted from shock to confusion and then to an echo of the sadness he must have felt. The buzzing chatter of wedding guests faded into a distant hum, obstructed by the weight of everything unsaid. "Mom?" His voice was tentative, like he was testing the wind before making a choice of direction. Suddenly, the bright lights around them felt suffocating instead of magical. The sparkle of laughter and joy transformed into a loud, echoing reminder of the grandeur he had chosen, one where she didn't belong. With every gaze directed at her, Sarah could feel the invisible threads of connection being stretched, questioning her presence, her worth. Still, she showed no signs of retreat. "Jake," she breathed, stepping forward despite the prickle of anxious sweat on her palms. "I had to come. I wanted to see you, to see everything." The words spilled out, raw and unrefined, crashing against the silence like waves against a cliff. Memories of Jake's childhood surged through her, scraped knees, bedtime stories, and warmth shared under a dwindling summer sun. "You've grown into such an amazing man," she continued, her voice steadying. I don't want to be left out of your life." The room shifted. Hesitant whispers rippled through the crowd as their eyes darted between mother and son. Observing leaped to gossip. Pockets of murmurs condensed, echoing Sarah's words with muffled reverberations. Why was she here? What did this reunion mean? Jake swallowed hard, a flicker of emotion crossing his face. It was a moment pregnant with memories, yet laden with resentment. "How could you just show up like this?" he asked, an edge creeping into his tone. "You weren't supposed to be here." Realization crashed over his features, his brows knitting together. "You didn't even RSVP." "I didn't want to intrude," Sarah's voice faltered, loss crawling back into the crevices of her heart. Deep down, she knew this wasn't just about a wedding invitation. It was the rift of years, of silence, and of misunderstandings. "You and Emily, I didn't want to cause issues, but seeing you, I couldn't stay away." Tears shimmered at the corners of Jake's eyes, and Sarah's heart surged with hope, fighting against the despair creeping in. "You should have come to me. We could have talked. I want you to be part of my life, too." Each word was a jagged edge, yet they hung in the air, promising the space needed to heal. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared behind Jake, Emily, radiant and poised in her stunning white dress. Her eyes flickered throughout the scene, a mix of curiosity and confusion. Everyone awaited her next move, the social web tightening around them. In that moment, Sarah felt the burden of decision press heavily, the air thick with anticipation. Would Emily welcome her, or would she see Sarah as a disruption in the fairy tale wedding she imagined? "Is everything all right?" Emily asked, her tone balancing between friendliness and a hint of defensiveness. The moment loomed, filled with an ambivalence that felt suffocating, stretching every second. Sarah's breath caught. Here was a chance, an opportunity to rewrite strands of their fractured relationship. But would they take it? As Sarah stepped forward, hand outstretched toward Emily, she wondered if this moment would mark a new beginning or seal their fates in silence. Could she forge a bond with Jake's future, or would this be the final heartbreak? The air crackled with unresolved tension, and the stakes suddenly felt higher than ever. What harmony or discord would come from this unexpected confrontation? In that split second, everything hung in precarious balance, waiting for a spark to ignite the next chapter of their lives. Emily's gaze darted between Jake and Sarah, searching for meaning in the unspoken words that hung like fog in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she took a tentative step forward. This was her chance to show Emily she wasn't there to cause chaos, but to create harmony. "I'm Sarah," she said softly, her voice carrying the warmth of a mother's embrace that had long since been absent. "I'm Jake's mom." Emily's expression flickered, her brows knitting together slightly, confusion clouding her features. "Mom?" she echoed, and Sarah felt the weight of that single word, as if it had the power to shatter everything around them. Jake didn't know I was coming, Sarah continued, holding Emily's gaze. I wanted to see him on this special day. I didn't want to intrude, but her voice broke, the emotions tangled within her, rooting her to the spot. But I missed him. The crowd shifted, their whispers crackling like static, a living entity absorbing the charged energy of this awkward, heartbreaking moment. Jake stepped forward, an instinctual response to shield Sarah from judgment. I thought you were done with us, he admitted, his voice low, a fragile mix of hurt and longing. You stopped reaching out. Sarah's heart sank as the echoes, their past, flooded her thoughts. I thought you didn't want me there anymore, she whispered, each syllable weighed down by years of absence. I thought it was better for you. Emily took a breath, the tension in her shoulders easing just a little. It's not like that, she said, her voice cutting through the air. I never imagined you wouldn't want to be in his life. If I knew, if I could have changed anything, don't you think I would have? Sarah said, frustration creeping into her voice. She didn't want to feel defensive, but the weight of judgment from both Jake and Emily felt unbearable. Silence fell again, heavier than before, though now it was intertwined with uncertainty. All three of them were caught in a web of feelings: guilt, hope, and a flicker of resentment. Visitors at the wedding were drawn into the emotional vortex, some pretending to enjoy the festivities, others just staring wide-eyed, their glasses clinking softly as they whispered to one another. I want us to find a way to create a new beginning, Sarah said, the words spilling out desperately. For you, for Jake, for all of us. Emily glanced at Jake, who stood frozen, his expression a portrait of conflict. The thought that both women wished to bond with him was enough to anchor him in place, yet it simultaneously pulled him in opposing directions. Do you want that, Jake? Emily asked softly, breaking the prolonged silence, her voice almost a plea. Do you want her in our lives? Jake's gaze shifted back to his mother. For so long, he had fought against the hurt she'd caused, but now the possibility of reconciliation fluttered in the air, wavering like a candle flame flickering against the future winds. I don't know. I need time. His words hung heavily as he wrestled with emotions that were so fresh but painfully familiar. With every heartbeat, Sarah felt the distance between them. Time stretched on as anxiety twisted in her stomach. It was a truth she had avoided. Loving someone didn't always mean you understood them. Just give me a chance, she said, her voice steadying. Please. Emily looked between them, reading the fragile hope in Sarah's eyes and the tension in Jake's shoulders. It should have been joy. This moment meant something, but it felt distorted, tangled in the past. As the guests around them began to murmur louder, a chaotic orchestra of voices blossomed. Sarah could only wonder, was this truly an invitation for new beginnings, or just the last dance before everything came crashing down? Jake's eyes searched Sarah's, filled with questions she needed to answer. Would he choose to forgive, or would this moment be the catalyst that tore them further apart? The band struck a deep chord, and beneath it all, their fragile story started to unravel, hanging by the thinnest of threads that could snap at any moment. What lay ahead was unclear, but the urgency for clarity pulsed strongly, waiting, needing to be addressed. The laughter and joy from the wedding party seemed to float further away as tension filled the air around Jake, Emily, and Sarah. Jake's heart raced, feeling like it was trapped in a vice. His childhood memories of Sarah, both the beautiful and the painful, rushed back like a river breaking through a dam. Jake, Sarah's voice was almost a whisper, thick with emotions. I want more than anything to be there for you. I've missed so much. Forget the past. Just let me be a part of your life. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Could he really just wipe the slate clean? Did he even want to? He looked at Emily, searching for guidance. Her eyes reflected the same tangled emotions he felt inside. Could he push aside the hurt for the possibility of what could be? Mom, his voice cracked. You left. You chose to be away. It's not that easy to just pretend it didn't happen. The intensity of his words dangled in the air, crackling in the wedding atmosphere. The crowd hushed, every guest now a silent observer in this dark moment of clarity. A new pool of tears gathered in Sarah's eyes. I know I messed up. Every day since I left, I've wished I could change it. I thought you'd be better off without me. I thought, her breath caught in her throat, but I was wrong. Silence hung, thick and suffocating, stretched to its breaking point. Emily's hand found Jake's, a soft squeeze that anchored him amid the whirlwind of emotion. Sarah, I understand it's complicated, Emily spoke gently, but Jake has been through a lot. Sarah nodded, her heart aching at the bond they shared. I just want my son back. I want to know who he is now and be part of his future. Jake's thoughts whirled. Sarah's admission stung, but it also fired up something deep inside him that he thought had burned out. The potential for healing was there, glowing like embers needing only air to ignite. I can't promise everything will be good right away, he finally said, voice low yet steady. But his words trailed off, emotions making it hard to breathe. He realized he was standing at a crossroads with the weight of his choice intertwined with the hopes of both women. What are you saying? Emily asked, sensing the shift in Jake's tone. I want to try, he said decisively, locking eyes with Sarah. I'll give you a chance, Mom, but it's going to take time. I can't just forget everything. A flicker of hope flashed in Sarah's eyes, and for the first time in years, Jake felt the tension within him start to ease. There was something beautiful about acknowledging the past, about walking uncertainly into an unforged future. I'll be here as long as you need, Sarah replied, her voice now cracking from a mixture of relief and gratitude. But as the words left her mouth, a new wave of uncertainty washed over Jake. Was this truly a beginning or merely a temporary solution? The band resumed its music, a cheerful melody drifting through the air like an oil-slick rainbow, so out of sync with their reality. Jake and Sarah stood together in a fragile embrace, shadows of doubt still haunting them, while Emily looked on, uncertain if the moment they shared was the start of something new or the beginning of the end. Just as laughter resumed from the crowd, a sudden commotion broke through, drawing attention away from the three of them. A loud voice surged through the air, calling Jake's name with urgency. His pulse quickened as curiosity stirred in him. Who was it? Could they disrupt whatever fragile peace was beginning to form? The question lingered heavily, poised on the brink of revelation and turmoil, as Jake could only wonder what else this day had in store for them. A shadow loomed over the trio as Jake turned toward the source of the loud voice. It wasn't just any voice, it belonged to Mark, his childhood friend. Jake, I need to talk to you, now. Mark's tone was urgent, his eyes wide and searching, intent on finding Jake. The joyous sounds of the wedding faded into the background as Jake's heart sank. He wanted this moment with Sarah to breathe, to expand into something meaningful. Yet here was Mark, a storm threatening to disrupt the fragile peace they'd just forged. Can it wait? Jake asked, his voice tight. No, it can't, Mark said, stepping closer, the tension rippling through his frame. It's important. It's about your mom. Jake's stomach dropped. He met Sarah's anxious gaze, the warmth of their embrace fading. What's going on? Mark took a breath, desperately struggling to find the right words. Well, there's something you need to know. I didn't want to say anything before, but I can't keep it from you anymore. There are details that, he hesitated, glancing at Sarah, that could change everything. Jake felt the ground shift under him. What do you mean? He pressed, his pulse racing. Just promise you'll listen and not freak out. Mark's voice dropped to a low tone, lowering his eyes in a gesture of seriousness. Please, just tell me, Jake replied, urgency creeping into his voice. He turned fully to Mark, adrenaline coursing through his veins. There are things about your mom's past, ties to people who could still be a threat. Mark paused, looking between Jake and Sarah. Things she didn't tell you, things that might explain why she left. Jake felt a cold sweat on his brow. Why would you say that? What do you know? Mark swallowed hard, knowing the weight of the truth he was about to unload. I overheard a conversation the other day. Someone was looking for her because of some unfinished business. I thought it was just a coincidence at first, but now, with her here... His voice trailed off, leaving an ominous silence. Nervous energy crackled among them, and Jake could see Sarah wince, her expression shifting from hope to fear. Jake, I never wanted to drag you into this, she finally spoke, her voice shaking. But I can explain. No, Jake felt a surge of anger and confusion. Why did nothing feel simple? You said you wanted to start over. Do you really think I can move on when there are things you're hiding from me? The words hung in the air, sharp and painful. The swing of emotions was dizzying. A day that started with promise was now spiraling out of control. Emily stepped in, her brows knitted. Let's just take a breath here, okay? If there's something going on, we need to sort it out together. Right, Jake said, his heart beating wildly. Together, but I need to know if I can trust you, Mom. This isn't just about us anymore. It's bigger. As tension thickened, the joyous wedding atmosphere faded to a distant hum. Their fragile moment of reconnection had shattered, revealing cracks that threatened to splinter their path forward. Mark took a step closer, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder. What are we dealing with here? What are we up against? Jake's world tilted again as the weight of his situation bore down on him. Where was the hope of healing? Instead, uncertainty wrapped its fingers around his heart, squeezing tight. Mom, he said softly, fear creeping in. What else are you hiding? As the crowd danced obliviously behind them, the bond they'd just begun to form hung by the thinnest thread. Jake felt the chasm open wider, and the sound of laughter felt distant, almost mocking. He caught Sarah's eye, desperation etched in both their faces. He understood the power in this next moment, the potential for truth. Could they truly face whatever was coming together? This wasn't just about a reunion. It was a battle for trust, a fight for family, and Jake was about to plunge into the depths of secrets he never saw coming. What other pieces of his mother's puzzle remained hidden? The tension hung thick in the air, wrapping around them like a suffocating fog. Jake's heart raced, the sound of laughter and music from the wedding drifting like a distant tide. In that moment, nothing else mattered except the three of them, the gravity of their unspoken words pressing down harder than ever. Jake, Sarah began, her voice barely a whisper. Her eyes shimmered, threatening to spill over with tears. I wanted to tell you everything. I didn't want to burden you with my past, not on the day of your happiness. But it feels like you're hiding everything from me, and Jake stumbled over his words, the hurt bubbling to the surface. I thought we were together in this. How can we be a family if we're standing on secrets? Mark stepped back, giving them space, sensing the emotional heat in the air. He rubbed the back of his neck, wanting to offer support but unsure how to navigate the minefield of feelings exploding around him. Jake, listen, your mom was scared. She thought, Mark started, but Jake interrupted him. the flame of anger sparking again. Scared of what? Scared of who? Jake shot back, louder than intended. The dance floor seemed to freeze, eyes darting toward them, inquiries hanging in the air like uninvited guests. Please, let's find somewhere more private, Mark urged, looking around them. This isn't the place for this. He glanced at Sarah with concern, cutting through the brimming silence. With a nod, Jake followed Mark, leading them to a small side patio. The night air was cool against Jake's flushed skin, but his heartbeat drummed loudly in his ears. They stood in a circle, the faint glow of lanterns casting shadows among them. Sarah inhaled sharply, her resolve visible. There are people from my past who have long arms, Jake. They won't stop at anything to settle old scores. What old scores? Jake demanded, his voice a mixture of fear and urgency. What did you even get involved in? As Sarah glanced down, Jake saw her hands tremble. It was the first time he noticed just how fragile she looked beneath the tough exterior she had worn for so long. I was part of something bigger than I could handle, she confessed, biting her lip to hold back tears. I had to leave to protect you. My decisions led to consequences that still haunt me. Heads up, Mark interjected, glancing over Jake's shoulder. We could be running out of time. What do you mean? Jake snapped back. He felt cornered, drowning in a torrent of emotions that clouded his ability to think straight. Mark took a step closer, his expression changing from concern to urgency. The people looking for your mom, they're not just going to back off because we want them to. If they know she's here, if they know you're here, then what? The panic in Jake's voice made Sarah look up again. The weight of revelations felt sharper now, the reality crashing in. We need to act. You have a right to know everything, but we must do it safely. There are layers here, and the people involved won't be gentle if they think they're losing control, Mark said tightly, the reality settling over them like a storm cloud waiting to burst. Jake shook his head, his mind racing. So what am I supposed to do about it? I just got her back. Trust us, Sarah said softly, her voice trembling with desperation and a flicker of hope. We'll find a way through this, together. As fear loomed, Jake felt a rush of determination swelling inside him. He locked eyes with his mother, their connection forged in the fires of uncertainty. We will face this, but I can't do it alone. Tell me everything, and then let's figure out the next step. Commitment echoed as Mark nodded, the three of them united, ready to dig deep into the past that threatened their future. But little did they know, the shadows behind them were already stirring, ready to follow them into the light. What awaited them beyond the walls of their vulnerable honesty? The air crackled with tension as Sarah stood there, her heart pounding in her chest. It was all too much. Jake was finally back in her life, but the weight of her past felt like a constant shadow, creeping closer with each passing second. Mom? Jake's voice was firm, but laced with a desperation she could hardly bear. You have to trust me. I can handle it. Just tell me what I'm up against. Mark stepped closer, his gaze darting around the patio, as if expecting the walls to eavesdrop. We need to get to the bottom of this before someone finds out we're talking. Yes, Sarah breathed out, gathering her thoughts. She had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her mind, yet standing here, her words tangled up in fear. It was a long time ago. I was involved with a group that I thought meant well, but they were dangerous. They got caught up in something bigger than any of us. Things spiraled out of control. As Jake shifted, his frustration simmering just below the surface, Sarah felt a stab of guilt. She had kept so much from him, but she never imagined this moment would come at a wedding, under a veil of happiness that felt so fragile. What kind of danger, Mom? Jake pressed, his voice steady, but she could see the turmoil behind his eyes. You can't just drop this on me. I can't tell you everything right now, but you need to know that they're ruthless. They've hurt people, and they would do anything to get what they want. Her voice trembled, the memories flooding back. I left to protect you, to protect all of us. But now, she paused, swallowing hard. Now they've found out about me, and that puts you in danger too. A chill ran through Jake as his mother's words settled in the space between them, heavy and chilling. So what? I'm just supposed to go back to pretending everything is fine? What would you have me do? Live in fear? Not fear, Jake. Caution, Mark interjected, his tone calm. We need a plan. If Sarah is right, we can't let them get to either of you. Jake was quiet, his hands fidgeting at his sides. The shadows of doubt flitting across his expression only fueled Sarah's resolve. I know this isn't easy. It was never meant to put you in this position, but we can figure this out if we stay together, just like before. Mark stepped in, his brow furrowed in thought. We need to get somewhere safe and fast. Do you have a place to stay, Sarah? Yes, she answered almost instinctively. My friend has a cabin by the lake. I used to go there to think a long time ago. Jake locked eyes with her, his face now a picture of determination. Then let's go, right now. There's no time to waste. Jake. Sarah hesitated, apprehensive about dragging him deeper into this dangerous world. No more secrets, he rebuffed, his jaw set strong. We started this together, and we're finishing it together. No turning back. Mark nodded in agreement. We can find out who's watching and why. We'll get through this. The weight of their ambitious plan settled upon them like a cloak, a mixture of fear and a flicker of newfound hope. They turned, facing the wedding's faintly glowing facade. It felt like a world away from the reality unfolding before them. As they stepped away from the patio, a shadow slipped around the corner, unseen. An ominous feeling lingered, thick in the air, and for a moment they all paused at the night's edge. Mom, promise me you won't keep anything from me again. We're all in this together now, Jake said, his voice breaking slightly, revealing the vulnerability he had tried to hide. I promise, Sarah replied, her heart swelling with both pride and fear for her son's future. But as they made their way through the rows of laughter and celebration, tension threading through the crowd like a live wire, they had no idea that danger was closer than it had ever been. The real fight was just beginning, and they were about to uncover secrets that would test their bonds of family like never before. What would come crashing down next? The drive to the cabin felt surreal. Sarah stared out the window, watching the world blur by. Trees whipped past them like memories she wished she could forget, interspersed with flashes of golden light from the moon above. Jake was silent beside her, his jaw clenched. She wanted to reach out, to offer comfort, but the weight of their conversation loomed large, an invisible barrier between them. Mark focused intently on the road ahead, nodding occasionally, as if reassuring himself that they were doing the right thing. The hum of the car engine was the only sound in the vehicle, a steady reminder of the ticking clock. Each second that passed felt heavy with unspoken words and unresolved fears. Finally, Jake broke the silence. I can't believe my wedding turned into this, like a scene from some action movie. I just wanted to marry the woman I love. His voice cracked, and a wave of vulnerability washed over him. Sarah turned to him, her heart aching. I know, honey. I'm so sorry. You deserve a happy day, not this. But I also deserve the truth, Mom, he replied, his voice firmer now, yet tinged with sadness. You've kept so much from me. How do I know you won't do it again? Looking at him, his face a mix of childhood innocence and an adult's determination, she felt a surge of guilt. You're right, she admitted, each word like a stone leaving her mouth. I should have told you everything. I just wanted to protect you from my mistakes. Jake inhaled deeply. No more protecting me. I'm old enough to handle the truth, whatever it is. As they drove on, the cabin came into view, nestled in a clearing by the lake, bathed in silver moonlight. It looked almost peaceful, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions inside the car. Sarah felt a mix of relief and apprehension, the familiar setting beckoning her to a time before the darkness had seeped into her life. Mark pulled the car to a stop, and they all stepped out. The crisp night air wrapped around them, carrying the faint sound of water lapping against the shore. It wasn't just a refuge. It was a reminder of what she had fought to hold on to all those years. For a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. "Let's get inside," Mark said, his voice brisk, pulling them back into the moment. As the three of them moved toward the cabin, Sarah scanned the surrounding area, her instincts kicking in. Was someone watching? She couldn't shake that feeling. She wanted to assure Jake that everything would be all right, but her heart was a tangled web of fear and uncertainty. Inside, Mark flipped on the lights, illuminating the cozy space that had always felt like home. The warm light cast comforting shadows on the wooden walls, but there was something unsettling in the way the beams creaked softly above. "Okay," Jake said, breaking the silence as he leaned against the kitchen counter. "What do we do next?" "We figure out what we're up against," Mark responded. "We lay out everything we know. No secrets, just the truth." As they gathered around the small, worn table, the air was thick with anticipation. Sarah fought to keep her voice steady. "I need to tell you everything I remember. It may sound crazy, but I hope it makes sense." Jake's expression was unwavering, his eyes urging her on. "Whatever it is, Mom, we can handle it together." With a deep breath, Sarah began to recount the past, memories flooding back like a dam breaking. As she narrated the events that had ensnared her years ago, she could feel tension ripple among them. But as she spoke, tears streamed down Jake's face, tears of confusion, anger, betrayal. "Mom, you should have left them behind. You should have let me in when this all started," he said, voice trembling as it echoed the walls around them. "Believe me," she cried softly, "I thought I was protecting you." Just then, a loud crash outside shattered the moment, bringing them all to a standstill. "Stay here," Mark ordered, moving swiftly toward the door. "Wait, don't go out alone," Jake shouted, panic igniting in his voice. Whatever was outside had just stepped beyond the threshold of their hopes. Sarah's heart raced. Could this be it? The reckoning she had been dreading? They were on the brink of an unknown danger, the shadows now real and looming. It felt like the beginning of a nightmare, but they still had the choice to fight back. What awaited them in the darkness beyond? Would they face the past together, or would it consume them once and for all? Mark hesitated at the door, his hand hovering over the knob. The loud crash echoed again, and all three of them instinctively flinched. The cabin felt like a fragile bubble, one that could burst at any moment. "Mark," Sarah whispered urgently, her heart pounding in her chest. "Please be careful." He nodded but didn't turn back. Swallowing hard, he twisted the knob and stepped outside. The night air was thick and charged, the kind that made the hair on your arms stand up. Sarah and Jake exchanged a glance filled with fear. There was a lurking dread that kept them rooted where they stood. "What if it's them?" Jake murmured, voice cracking with anxiety. "What if they found us?" "Let's not jump to conclusions," Sarah said, trying to instill a sense of calm she didn't feel. "Mark will check it out. He knows what to do." But deep down, Sarah wasn't sure. Every instinct screamed that they were being watched. Moments felt like hours as they waited, tension hanging in the air. Jake paced back and forth, his frustration rolling off him like heat from a flame. "I can't just stand here. I need to know what's going on." "Jake, wait," she pleaded, gripping his arm just as he reached for the door. "We have to give him a second. We have to trust him." "Trust?" He scoffed, his voice rising. That's the problem, isn't it? We've been trusting for too long. It's time we start fighting back. Outside, Mark moved cautiously, the flashlight beam slicing through the darkness. He scanned the clearing, searching for shadows that didn't belong. A rustle in the bushes sent a jolt through him. He held his breath, heart thrumming loudly in his ears. "Hello?" he called out, his voice steady but laced with unease. Silence answered him, stretching out unnaturally. He stepped further into the shadows, feeling the ground shift beneath his feet like unstable ground. Back inside, Sarah's heart drummed in rhythm with the suspense hanging in the air. Jake's eyes were on the door, his body tense like a coiled spring ready to explode. Suddenly, Mark's voice broke through the stillness. "It's okay. Come on out. I know you're there." "Mark," Sarah hissed. "What are you doing? Get back here." But her warning was drowned out by the sound of footsteps approaching the cabin. A shadow emerged, someone stepping into the light. Sarah squinted, expecting the worst, but when she recognized the figure, her heart stopped. It's Grace," she breathed, the name slipping from her lips like a prayer. Jake's eyes widened. What? Grace? From the wedding? The woman in front of them looked different, her face pale, eyes wide with urgency. "We need to talk, now." Tension shifted as Sarah took a cautious step forward, grasping for the thin thread of familiarity. "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be—" "There's no time. They're looking for you, for both of you. You need to leave, now." Jake's confusion morphed into urgency. "Who is looking for us? What do you know?" But before Grace could answer, another crash echoed louder than before, rattling the cabin walls. Mark's eyes shot to Sarah, fear etched in his features. "Stay inside," he ordered, while moving swiftly toward Grace. "What did you see?" Cries of panic bubbled beneath the surface. The darkness outside was closing in, the danger growing more tangible with every passing second. They stood on a precipice, choices to be made that could either save them or plunge them deeper into despair. "Don't just stand there. We have to act," Grace urged, panic flaring in her voice. "Something terrible is coming." As rosy-colored dawn began to emerge, the weight of their past surged again, this time intertwined with the urgency of their present. What decisions would they make? What truths would come crashing in? The air felt electric, and they all knew it was time to confront the shadows or risk being consumed by them. What happened that made Grace come for them now? What was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike? Sarah felt her heart race as she processed Grace's urgency. The whispers of danger felt palpable, closing in on them. You need to explain," she said, voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. "What's happening? Who's looking for us?" Grace glanced nervously over her shoulder, a flicker of fear in her eyes. "They're part of the group, Sarah. They caught wind that you resurfaced, and they won't stop until they know where you are." Jake stepped forward, anger simmering beneath his skin. "What group? How do you know so much? Why are we at risk?" Each question felt like a punch, and Sarah could see how Jake's frustration mounted like a wave ready to crash. "It's complicated, but you need to trust me," Grace pleaded, urgency cutting through the thick tension. "You're in danger, and I can help you, but we don't have time to explain everything right now." Outside, another loud crash resounded, echoing through the clearing, setting their nerves on edge. Mark's expression darkened as he moved back toward the door. "We have to leave, now. Can you lead us somewhere safe?" Panic rose within Sarah as she nodded. "My friend still has a safe house over in town. It's hidden away. No one will think to look for us there." The memory of that place filled her with cautious hope. "We just have to make it there." "Then we'll go," Jake said resolutely, fists clenched. "But we can't leave without understanding this." He turned his gaze to Grace, searching for clarity. "You have to tell us everything you know. Whatever it is, we need to know what we're getting into." Grace hesitated, biting her lip as uncertainty filled the air. "Okay, but we need to hurry." She swiftly gestured for them to follow her outside. The cold night air hit Sarah like an awakening breeze. As they stepped out into the moonlight, time felt suspended, the world around them waiting. Shadows danced just beyond the reach of light, amplifying the sense of urgency. "Quickly," Grace urged, turning toward the edge of the clearing where the trees met the road. "I'll explain on the way." "Mark, stay close to Jake," Sarah instructed, her heart pounding as they moved. They instinctively formed a tight unit, navigating through the dark, every crunch of leaves and snap of twigs setting them on edge. In the moments of hurried escape, Grace quickly shared snippets of information. "Years ago, Sarah, you were involved with a group that promised support but carried out illegal operations. When you left, they lost everything and blamed you." Jake's face twisted in horror, everything coming full circle in his mind. "So that's why you left? They threatened you?" Sarah nodded, shame washing over her. "I thought I could save you by leaving, but it only opened the door for them to come after me. I never wanted you to be involved in this." The urgency of their situation morphed into clarity, a shared understanding solidifying their bond. "We're in this together now," Mark said fiercely. "We have to break the cycle. We can't let this define us." Suddenly, a sound emerged from the brush behind them, a rustle too loud to be the wind. "They're close," Grace urged, picking up her pace. "We need to move fast." Jake's heart raced with adrenaline as they quickened their steps, running toward the far end of the clearing where a gravel path lay ahead. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears as they raced against time. "Just a little further," Sarah called out, determination flooding her voice. "We can make it." As they stumbled into the trees, glancing back at the cabin one last time, Jake could feel the weight of everything that had happened pressing down on him. The fear wasn't just for their safety anymore. It was for their future together, one woven with threads of healing amidst the lingering shadows of the past. They burst through the underbrush, the safe house coming into view, yet something felt off, a heaviness looming in the air. "Get inside, quickly," Grace shouted, urgency palpable in every word. They tumbled into the old building, breathless, and Sarah turned to close and lock the door, her heart pounding. "Is everyone here?" Jake asked, his eyes scanning the room, searching for threats. Grace's expression hardened, gathering her courage. "I won't let anything happen to you," she promised. As they huddled together, inhaling the weight of their circumstances, one thing became clear. The past had coiled around them, but it didn't have. They would fight to break free from its grasp together, a united front against the shadows that threatened to pull them apart. Whatever came next, they would face it as a family. In that moment of resolve, hope flickered through the darkness. They were scared, but they were together, and together they could reclaim their lives. But how far would they have to go to escape their past? Would victory be within reach, or would the shadows prove too strong to overcome? As dawn broke, illuminating their determination, all they could do was stand ready to confront the challenges ahead. They were no longer just a mother and son. They were warriors, standing shoulder to shoulder, ready to rewrite their story against the odds. Now was their time to rise. If you want to see how Sarah and Jake face this unrelenting battle against their past, make sure to subscribe immediately to the channel for more exhilarating stories. Leave a like now to boost our reach and support our journey. We want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this thrilling conclusion. And don't forget to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Your support means everything to us. Don't wait, not even one more second, to show your love.